All right, so this is going to be a first for me. I'm with my new friend that I met on LinkedIn, actually, Roni,
Yeah,
and
Ronnie.
yep, and he's from Israel, and a clinical social worker and psychotherapist also. We had a lot of overlap in our professional interests, didn't we?
Yeah, we
Yep.
both in you can say emotional eating or overweight or even obesity field, we can say.
hmm And I mean, that's a personal topic for me and a professional topic because in my practice, help people who are dealing with, binge eating disorder or wanting to lose weight or overcoming obesity. But how did you get into this?
So it was like an accident, and there are never accidents. So around 15 years ago, I was working in an eating disorder unit with anorectic and bulimic women. And I started to touch what I call the relationship with food and eating field. And during that time, I was working with a lot of patients on their emotional eating. And I open to that, you can say, understanding, new understanding, what is the connection between emotional and our eating habits. And during 2007, I read the book of Janine Roth, When Food is Love. And it's like connect me to my inner journey with my relationship with food and eating. I was, you can say, chubby or overweight child since 6, 7 years old. And I was struggling all of my life. I'm still, you can say, struggling because it's, it's like, it's a journey for life,
Still
I
having to
can say.
maintain.
Yeah, there in this pandemic I have, like, I think, some very not easy challenges with my with this relationship with food and eating. And after visiting Janine Roth retreat in California 2008 and read her books, I really understood that this is my destiny, this is my mission, this is my purpose in life. Not just to work with the cutting edge, this 3-4% that have anorectic and bulimic tendency, but I want to work with anyone that have issues with his her relationship with food and eating, and maybe that's include almost all of us,
Oh, sure,
and
sure.
yeah,
And some of the information that we get, like sometimes we're told, hey, don't use food as a reward, or don't, you know, so then we get confused about, well, shoot, we celebrate birthdays with food, or we celebrate different events with food. So should we not reward ourselves with food, or it gets
yeah.
confusing.
Yeah, is it bad or is it good? Is it wrong? Is it, a failure? We have a lot of, we combine emotional, emotions labeled to our, body and our relationship to food. And I'm trying with people maybe to look into those connection and to see what is, the right connection and what is, not, the not helping us connection.
Okay.
So it was a long journey, and still it is a long journey for me. I'm working with patients for the last 15 years, and I think in the last 10 years, I'm trying to approach this issue a little bit different. So I'm not in the awareness, understanding, mindful, although I'm, conducting workshop of mindfulness meal, but most of my clients are aware, are mindful, are understanding, and still their behavior stay the same. All right, so
Okay.
I'm trying to understand why with all that, all this understanding, they're not changing their habits. And in the last 8 years, I'm practicing self-psychology, psychotherapy, and it's more about empathy, more about my ability as a therapist to walk in my patient's shoes, to look through his eyes, look to the world with his glasses. And from this point of view, just to strengthen his self. I want to make his self, whatever that word is, bringing more to his nature, to his true nature, true self,
Right.
nuclear self, doesn't matter.
So not setting them up on a specific diet that's gonna cause them to like self-sabotage and give up and feel like a failure.
Yeah, I'm not in the dieting field, although the word diet, if what I know about the word from Latins, it's lifestyle. So I'm in favor of, the right lifestyle that everyone needs to, to find to himself. Everyone needs his, unique subjective lifestyle. Part of your lifestyle is how you cook your meal, how you eat your meal, how you're going to buy your food. It's part of the lifestyle, but it's not all of your lifestyle. It's very important who you are living with, in which city are you living in the city. If you are, a person that need to be, in the suburb, and if you're, you know what I mean. So you need to find your accurate and subjective place to live your life.
So you're saying that it's not just about diet, like or what we're eating or how much exercise we're getting. I mean, all those things matter, but it also matters where our mindset is at and all of the other like career things and family things and you know religious values or just
Mhm.
our everyday life has to be incorporated into it.
Everything need to be inside this box that we are looking into, that not just what we are eating. Most of my patients can have a PhD in nutrition. They are excellent, they're understanding, they are from like for 50 years, they're reading, struggling, going to all that professionals, and still there's something missing because they didn't look on topic like emotional starvation or emotional neglect and the connection to the obesity, overweight. For that, they didn't look at the topic emotional poverty. All right, so what is happening? What is emotional poverty? So maybe they can, in their childhood they received everything, but no one understood them from inside. So they are very poor. They can be very rich in something, but they are very poor because they are not speaking the emotional language.
Right. Right. And by the time people have come to you, how many diets or like, I mean, because I know you don't focus on the end goal. You're not focusing on how much weight are you going to lose, what diet are we going to put you on, or what, that's not your thing. But when people come to you, how many ways have they tried to lose weight before they've met you?
All of their life. Sometimes in a group, I'm asking that question, how many years you're struggling and how many diets you did. I remember in one of my last groups, so someone said, I'm struggling, I'm on diet for 15 years, 20 years. There was an old lady there said 52 years, 52 years she's doing maybe 50 diets. I don't
That,
know.
that sounds
And
exhausting.
and and I'm always, it's like a joke, but it's not, it's
No,
a
it's not.
game, and it's not. I'm asking those people, in the group or one-on-one, just give me 10% of the time that you gave to, those diets. So if you're doing 52 years, give me 5 years, that I can maybe have the option to put you on the right, path for you. It's not my path. No one could go my path. I cannot go your path. It's very individual and subjective and sometimes esoteric paths we are taking.
Yeah.
But I know something, whatever that means. I know something about helping people to become more in their nature. And
Yes.
I really feel that if they are more and more and more in their nature and less with what people want them to be, their self will be much more strong. Their self would be much more quiet. They will live their life with more joy. And because of that, whenever something happen in day to day, someone in the road, someone tell them someone, slightly insult them, they will not disintegrate it. So they will not need the food to integrate it back again, get the
So
balance right again. So if
they're
I'm
not using
less,
food to cope with their pain. They're not,
exactly.
and it's kind of
So
similar to how a person would reach out maybe for a bottle of alcohol or
exactly.
um, like different things that people reach out to do. So
Yeah.
do you feel that food can be an addiction for people?
It is. It is in exactly how you say it. Because if I'm used for 30, 40 years to use it, every time I'm a little bit disintegrated. So this is I know in my subconscious, in my body, mind, whatever, that it's working. I'm feeling something. I'm becoming a little bit crazy. I'm becoming a little bit disintegrated. I'm feeling a little bit weak. I
Mhm.
lost my balance. The food is there. The food is always there. It doesn't matter where I am. I can say about the Western society, the food, the 9/11 is always there. It doesn't matter how money. Sometimes I can manage with $1. To help me not to be crazy in a specific night. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
You can use something, cheap and quick, and you can just eat your feelings and then feel good. So
Yeah.
when people do that, like when people are binge eating in a moment where they feel horrible about themselves, in your experience, have you found that those people actually feel better after eating it?
I believe I can talk also about my experience with that, and I can talk about a lot of people. I'm sure that everyone feel better now. It can be for a second, it can be for a minute, it can be for an hour, and can be for a week. It doesn't matter. Okay,
Mm.
it's important to that person to take this food because it helped them not to become crazy, not to become disintegrated in a specific moment, that it's not good that this person become disintegrated. But the real question is what happened next, about, those emotional like a shame or guilt or failure. So if a person can look through his relationship with food and eating and understand this pattern, this cycle, say, that's interesting. Every time someone leave me, I'm going to the ice cream, like Rachel in the first season of Friends. Every time. So I'm wanting to look into this cycle, and I want to understand why and what happened, and what is the connection between events, emotion, and behavior, and maybe to connect it to my childhood. Okay, and if we will look very carefully, we will see that sometimes it could be something very small. It's not like someone insult us or beat us, or we don't need to look for something huge. It's
Mhm.
very, very, very delicate sometimes. When I'm speaking about self-psychology, Kurt was the father of self-psychology. So one of his patients told him on Monday morning meeting that his wife was late to pick him up from the train station in Chicago. I'm talking about in the
Okay.
60s. So just maybe 3 minutes she was late. And
Yeah.
then he told court on Monday morning, the weekend was ruined for 3 minutes, because I don't know what this patient felt during those 3 minutes. I don't know if his mother one time forgot to take him
Right.
from the
So it
kindergarten.
triggered something.
Exactly, I don't know, but his self was fragile, was too much fragile, was not strong enough to handle these 3 minutes of late being her being late. So my work is to find different ways with different people to make their self more strong, more
Mhm.
integrated, more solid, more fluid, more dynamic. So in different cases, they will not get lost. They will not get out of the balance because if they have relationship with food and eating, they will need the food to get the balance right. And I want to make it like that it will happen once a year and not every day. You know what I mean? Or
Sure,
once a
sure.
month.
Right.
I want
Not
to,
happening so regularly that it's a common problem.
exactly,
But if it shows up once in a while, you understand we're human. We're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes.
exactly.
We're going to have
It will
setbacks.
happen. It
And
will
so
happen.
you use the word strong. So I
Right.
kind of want to touch on that because not only do I love helping people with understanding like emotional health tied into like weight loss and just their overall health in general, but sometimes I don't know how it is over in Israel, but in America, talking to someone about anything related to mental health it has like a stigma associated to it, or people feel like if they reach out to talk to someone about one of their weaknesses or something that they don't feel strong, they feel weak. And how do you feel about people who actually reach out to get help or to improve on their so-called weaknesses? Does that make them weak?
Like, I think it's make them human, as you said before. You know, there's a difference between being strong or emotional strong to, you know, the word brittle. You know, this glass, it's a, you know, it's brittle. If I will throw it, it will, you know, disintegrated.
Yeah.
So it's not really strong. Although it's very strong, it's not really strong. I'm looking about,
you can break it. Yep, it's destructible.
Yeah, body mind strong. So it's more flexible than being if you look, you can look, you know, Michael Eigen in the chapter Emotional Starvation, speaking about that point, you know, maybe in 50 years, 100 years, most of our leader, you know, if you will look on them, they will be sometimes hesitating, or you can see their softness, you know. So, now if you will see a person like that, you will say he's a weak person. But maybe he's not, because he's looking into himself and trying to feel himself, you know, and from that, you know, perspective, know what to do. So I'm talking about more emotional strengths, you can
And
say.
that's
Yes.
just like a physical, you know, exercise that we do. We can do, you know, bicep curls to, you know, strengthen our muscles. So you're basically saying that there's things that we can do to strengthen our emotional muscles. I can't
Exactly.
talk.
Exactly. In most of our, you know, houses, no one, you know, in my house, nobody was teaching us. Nobody, you know, show us how to be strong in that field. You know, it's a different language.
It
And
is.
I believe that everyone can, learn this language, but you need the teachers, like in everything. You need your parents. And if the parents don't know this language, all right, it's sad, but so you need your instructor, you need your teacher, your guide in the scout. It doesn't matter. Everyone can teach you if you know the language, if you speak the emotional language. But I want to say another thing, because what you said about the fear from this label of mental health, and if we will say that all of the 100 million Americans who suffer from overweight have emotional issues, so we say, wow, 100 million Americans have mental health issue. It's more, I'm not saying that. I'm trying to say that the emotional aspect of obesity, this field for professional, is not yet exist. All right, there is a field for anorexia and bulimia. We know that if a person suffers from anorexia and bulimia, all right, it's a mental disease. We would need a social worker, psychiatric nurse, psychology, shrinks. But when we thinking about obesity, overweight, emotional aspect of obesity, so maybe in this many people we know that suffering from that, maybe there's a lot of people that will enjoy, all right, someone who will approach them and speak with them about the emotional, it doesn't need to be why or the emotional reason for a person become chubby. It doesn't matter. But just speaking with them, listening to them, being
Sure.
empathic to them, this is the most important thing. And I think if more professionals will, approach this field, I believe that, you know, gradually, I don't want to say slowly, but gradually, the statistic would change. The statistic of the percentage of people that trying to lose weight and succeeding, it would change. But we need more professional who will practice this expertise.
I
Uh,
agree. I agree. So
yeah.
then another situation that I've seen in, the United States here is a lot of the primary care or people who are taking care of patients who have diabetes and high blood pressure and, have obesity and, all these other comorbid conditions. They only have 10 to 15 minutes to address all of their issues. And if we're going to be, tackling the, emotional aspect of obesity, how are we supposed to fit that in
Yeah.
when they only have 10 or 15 minutes and they have to address lab values and medications and, maybe the person developed new back pain? And do you feel like right now these nurse practitioners and physicians and physician assistants, do they even have time to address this?
My short answer is no.
Thank
But
you. That was a loaded question.
yeah, no, but you can later share, your experience a little bit and your journey and, the changes that you did because of what you are now describing. In the last 2 years, I gave presentation for around 200 family physicians in Israel. And I really was very, very sad to hear them, how they struggling with, those kind of
Yeah.
difficulty and other different of difficulty because they didn't study. I gave a lecture in Tel Aviv University. I work with them in the community, in the hospital, and I know one family physician in Israel that she studied also psychotherapy, so she can approach, this issue
Hmm.
and other psychosomatic issue from two angles simultaneously. And this is amazing. There's more and more family physician studying psychotherapy,
Right.
and I think this is the future. And the future is connected, as I see it, to to do something with the split between body and mind. So doctor working on the body and I'm working on the mind and you are
Right.
in the middle or whatever. Everybody should work on, to see a person from holistic point of view, you know. So maybe in 10 years, if a person coming to the ER, maybe you will see a social work that ask him, the first question. So how are you today? Just that. First question, how are you? What happened today? Second question, before blood pressure, blood, everything, And I think if people in the how I said it, people in the higher rank, I will call it, really understand that a lot of disease, a lot of illness, a lot of issue, including obesity, have a connection between body and mind. So it's not just what you eat and you didn't run yesterday your 2 miles. It's more complicated than that. And those people, those people in the organization will understand
Yes.
that. They
Well,
will, build more infrastructure, more institute that people will study more about the emotional aspect of obesity and work more with the doctor and the nurses and with the dietitian. So we will work very, very, very all
like
together as a
a
team,
team, a team.
right? Yeah, because
No,
this disease, like other disease, have so many diversity and angles that you can approach. And my feeling that in the last 50, 60 years, we didn't approach enough the emotional angle of this disease, the emotional aspect of obesity, and we really should do it now.
And I think it's super hard for people who maybe don't have a background in healthcare or to understand why the mental health side or the emotional side. When I say mental health, to me personally, I mean like human emotions. I feel like everyone should have a mental health annual physical every single year just to kind of do a checkup. Like, how are things going? How you feeling? You know, and go through just some stuff, make sure they're good to go, make sure their sleep's okay, make sure, I mean, it's more intensive than that, obviously, as you know, but just to genuinely like, and help them work on things they want to or don't want to, you know, but just so a person knows that emotions are a human experience. But going back to the, you know, the leadership at a top of an organization or administration at a hospital, a lot of times they don't want to put a whole lot of money into prevention and lifestyle changes and stuff like that, because we can't measure, you know, with a whole lot of accuracy. I mean, we can use different tools and, you know, questionnaires and stuff for people to use, but overall, we don't have like a lab test to draw our blood to say, you know, your emotional relationship with eating has really improved. You know, we can do that with diabetes. We can check your A1C, but we don't have that for mental health. So I feel like just because we can't specifically measure something doesn't mean that it's not improving, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, doesn't mean, so there still needs to be, you know, funds generated and systems put in place in order to have these programs, because in the long run, if a person is willing to go through this type of program that you're talking about, their A1C most likely will come down. And do you ever get any primary care people or anyone calling you and thanking you for bringing their patients' A1C down or improving their diabetes? Do you?
Also, yeah, and also doctors refer to me some of their patient,
That
doctor
is
in the
so awesome.
hospital, there are endocrinic doctors, family physicians sending me their patient because they know that I'm expertise on the
That
emotional
is so cool.
side. Yeah, because they know me. I gave their lecture presentation in the hospital, in the community. So I have some colleagues that, yeah, we are working together and they are very happy with my work and we are working like teams, but we need to do it like in every community, like everywhere. I wanted to say something and I forgot. So
That's okay. That's
I will
okay.
go back to that later.
I
Yeah.
feel like you and we have a connection like that. I do that all the time to you on our last conversation. I was kind of all over the place. So we both get like that. My other thing that I was going to say is, I had mentioned to you that about this was a long time ago. The first time I ever went in to go see a healthcare provider about weight, I was 130 pounds heavier and I was super embarrassed. I was super shy. I didn't even know if they could do anything about that. And I walked into my appointment and the provider said, "You're here for weight loss, you know, calories in, calories out. Are we done
Yeah,
here?"
yeah, yeah.
So is it just calories in,
Terrible.
calories out?
Yeah. Mm, this is maybe this is maybe the outcome of so many other processes that sometimes, as you said before, it's not easy to measure all of those processes. But I feel that if a person moved to the right direction in his self work, whatever, and it's also hard to explain what is a self, from biomedical approach. But
Mm-hmm.
I think people look on that if you are doing an fMRI, what's that fMRI, like functional MRI, to see the changes in the
Okay.
brain,
Yep.
and through some exam that the person is doing, that you can see a change for the good we see a lot of people that doing mental health processes, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We are,
Mm-hmm.
you know, healing them from their injury, their trauma, their complex trauma, and for sure, complex trauma sometimes connected to
Oh yeah.
overeating. And
Yeah.
so we can see, we can tell the doctors that they can, you know, run an fMRI scans and see some changes. But I think we will need to build new ways to measure, you know, changes with people, and that not everything you can count. You know, I remember a patient of mine that after a session told him, I'm 4 pound, I lost 4 pounds, you know, after a session. She felt something. She told me, no, it was 10 pounds. She told me, wow, I'm 10 pounds less. So what she felt, you know, there's a lot of, you know, she felt a little bit less heavy. All right. She felt more that she can breathe. All right. So
Yes.
it's very hard to measure everything, but
Over here, there like the weight loss community will call that a non-scale victory. So like
mm,
being able to bend over and tie your shoes, or just feeling more comfortable in your skin, or not necessarily only focusing on a number on the scale. It's a non-scale victory.
yeah.
So it sounds like you're trying to focus more on like the progress that they're making, and help them realize like the other things that are improving their life because they're making these changes.
You know, sometimes people ask me, both professional and not, if, you know, I'm so in the process, like 10 years ago, my name in one of the Israeli organization, health organ, was Roni Process. That was my name. My family name was Process, because I said,
Oh,
oh, it's a process. It's a process. But, when people ask me if I don't expect for changes also in the weight, I don't care about changes. Say, not, I do care, and I do want to see, but it's not, if I will do that, that will happen. But if a person is moving to his right direction, is, very unique on direction, for
like,
sure, I want to see also changes in the weight, but it's not a mechanism. It's very,
it's not the only
it's
focus. It's you're
no,
looking at the whole picture.
I am, but it's more complicated than that. That he will, maybe quit his job, and then he will, lose 20 pounds. Sometimes it will happen. Sometimes it will take 5 years that would happen. So I'm focusing on going back to a person, true nature, and I believe that whenever that happens, more and more and more, all of this person relationship will improve, including his relationship with food and eating. But maybe before that, 20 other relationship would need to be changed before the relationship with food and eating. Maybe his relationship with money, maybe with his relationship with his, God, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
other relationship. With so many relationship, and this fat envelope, whatever, this fat body mind envelope will need to wait, and
So
we will need to understand that.
mhm. And so you're working through all the other stuff before you can get to sometimes weight loss, depending on where a person's at.
I'm trying to understand with each particular client where
Hmm.
to go, you
Right. And
know
everybody has different goals.
exactly.
They
And
have
for
different
sure,
beliefs.
yeah, you asked me before, those people that call me, they all of them wants to lose weight. Yeah, they do.
Hmm.
But
Yeah. That's
they understand that there's something more than that. Maybe they would need to be happy before they would be thin. Maybe they want to be, feeling empowerment on their life, feeling meaning in their life, before they could, lose weight. So most of them coming open, and this is the most important stuff. If a person come open, I can really go with him, because I don't know what to go with that person. It's his path. It's not my path. I want to help him to find his path.
So
I'm
you
like a
feel like a
touring guide.
healthcare provider
I'm a
shouldn't be the
touring
one
guide.
setting the goal. Your client sets the goals
It's an
based
interesting
off,
question and an interesting word, goals.
or like what is important to them, like, or what you're going to start working towards. Like, it has to be super specific to that patient. We can't just put them on a cookie cutter
No, exactly.
program. It's very
Exactly.
specific to who you are working with.
I will just in the beginning, if a person really come open, I will just start to make assumptions and see what happened with my assumption and maybe our mutual assumption. So
Mhm.
one of the assumptions said, if we will do something with your relationship with money, it's interesting how will be affecting on your food addiction or whatever. And we just for a month we will see if something is happening there. If there is some change, we will continue to go that direction more and more and more. If not, we will find different direction, and I will try to erase different and other assumptions. So it's all
Absolutely.
about like experimental work.
Exactly. Okay. So I'm going to ask you one more question before I go into asking you about what we can do to help you spread this mission, or even help out how you and I can collaborate to do something together, because I love your work. I've seen some of your presentations. I've listened to some of the speaking that you've done. I mean, you are absolutely incredible, and I don't feel like this video can alone explain how amazing I feel that you are.
Thank you.
Um, but with on a personal level, so I'm gonna be a little vulnerable here. On a personal level, a lot of people with the pandemic and COVID, being stuck at home, dealing with, sometimes that might be triggering some of their feelings that maybe they don't even realize are being triggered, but people are feeling more anxious, they're feeling more down, they're not sleeping as well. And even if they have been successful before at controlling their eating or exercise, some of them, including myself, backslid a little bit and had a little bit of regression. So for me personally, this is the first time I've like admitted this like publicly, but I had lost 130 pounds, and I always have said I've maintained that for over 5 years. And I say that just so people can realize that it's, once you get into your groove, you can stick with it. It wasn't hard. But when the pandemic hit, it changed my schedule, it changed everything. And then I found myself reaching for those snacks to feel better. And it helped in the moment, but it didn't help in the long run. And eventually it kind of made me feel bad. But as time has gone on, I even reached out to a counselor and started talking to them through things, and I realized what was going on. And I've lost some of that weight again and getting close to my baseline where I'm normally at. But I felt super shameful. So I know that there's other people who have gone through that before or are going through that right now. What advice would you give to them about feeling shameful if they've lost some of their progress?
So I don't want to say accept your being shamed, but it's very normal feeling to feel that. And also I share with you, I think after 22 years that I'm in my spiritually journey, it's the first time in this pandemic that I'm gaining weight. So I lost in the last 20 years 60 pounds, and this is the first time that I'm a little bit gaining weight. I think around 7 pounds, something like that. And I think the pandemic, I never felt this kind of a transition in my life, this kind of passage in my life. I've been through a lot of stuff in my life, and it's remind me something from 20 years ago, something personal, but it's totally different. And for me, the food in the last 8 months, it's like I need a lot of energy. And this is the problem and the challenge in transition. We have a lot of transition in life. we can, we are getting divorced, doing relocation, getting fired. It doesn't matter. But this pandemic is a really, really huge, and we didn't have. It's like surprise us, and this is the most important. When something surprises you, you are like in a shock. And I was in a shock for a few days, and I just, I started to eat chocolate, and I didn't, for years, I'm not eating chocolate because it's not tasty to me. And back on chocolate, because that was the only one that a little bit calmed me down in this being in a shock phase
Yeah.
because of that. And I think that uh, after, going out of this shock, me and a lot of people, as I see it, it's only my opinion. For a few months, I told to myself that, very soon the pandemic would be over and I can go back to my schedule, to my healthy, very healthy routine. And
Mhm.
it's not happened. And the
No.
pandemic is still here. And as I see it, it's not going to go or move tomorrow or the next
Or
day.
yeah, I mean, nobody knows. Nobody
It's
knows. So we're living in
it's here
uncertainty.
now. It's Corona. It's Corona time. It's even not Corona time. It's Corona. We are in the Corona, and the Corona is transition. It's a passage, and we need to go to the next level. It's an opportunity. It's not. I don't think it's a spiritually talking. It's as I see it. It's fact. We are not going to go back to where we are. Life's change, and we need to find. I need to find, my new diet. Something was working excellent for 22 years. No, it's not. I need to find next. And when I'm talking
Exactly.
about diet, I'm reminding people
Your
about
lifestyle.
lifestyle. So it's
Hmm.
not just what I'm eating, although it's part of lifestyle. Maybe,
Right?
in the last few years, I was vegan. So maybe I need to go back. I need to find my balance again. Some nutrition told me yesterday that I need to go back to eat fishes because I need some movement energy in myself, water energy, so for sure I will need to do some changes in my food, but so many other changes. And you want to encourage people to find what next, what is their lifestyle going to be in the next year.
That's
Some
great.
dreams, some hope, some things that they are for years planning and they didn't have time, they didn't have the guts to do it. I think now it's the time to go and pursue all of our dreams. And on a personal level, to go work with more professional American, I we can do maybe together, conferences both for professional and not professional. I don't know, if our audience will, be both professional and not professional, but we can arrange conferences, we can arrange groups, workshop, seminar. I believe that it's about time that in America, expertise, there will be group who are expertise working with overweight people. And
Right.
they will do more, they will know more about the emotional aspect of that, not just about those questions about medication and running fast and about nutrition. They will
Right.
understand about emotional starvation, neglected, emotional poverty, the emotional role of the fat, the psychology role of the fat, what is the fat all about,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
stuff
And
like
so
that.
I feel like there definitely is some traction building over here in the United States. We have the Obesity Association and different professional groups that are starting to bring more light to it. But I feel like there needs to be more. There needs to be more, like more people need to be talking about, we need educators. We need you
Exactly.
and your workshop to help educate, nurses or physicians or,
Yeah,
just everyone in the entire healthcare field and patients to help them understand that this is even a
amazing.
thing. I mean, you can't get help for something if you don't know that that help exists. can't. So
Exactly. When you talk about the organization, just one last thing, I felt that like most of them are in the biomedical, seeing stuff,
sure,
and it's so if you know, some other people know about organization, it can be hospital, it can be clinic, but it also can be a rehab center that wants to imply also, for like a program for people who are addicted, not just for alcohol or drugs, but also for food, or, a private clinic, or, eating disorder unit that wants also to work with obesity,
absolutely.
overweight, and non-bariatric overweight patient, So I'm totally open for that, but they need also to be open to work on the emotional aspect.
And emotions are a human thing. It's not just a, a woman thing. It's not, like the social or the excuse me, what am I trying to say? I feel like society has tried to tell men, at least over here, that emotions are not okay. If you show your emotions, you're not strong. And that is so far from the truth. And I'll even plug a TED talk that I watched once that was on a person who originally created the term the alpha male. It was a researcher who was studying chimpanzees, and he talked about how the alpha male actually had more empathy and more emotion than even the highest ranking beta female in his group. So alpha males, who are the strongest of the strong and the top leaders, are more emotional and in touch with that than some of the strongest women. So I hope
I would
men,
like, yeah, I would like to read that, and it's
yeah,
or to see it. It's
yeah,
very,
I'll
very,
send you the link. So, but it was awesome, and I try to promote that all the time because it's unfair what society has done as far as
same here
just,
in Israel, men are not crying, men are not feeling, emotion. It's not
yeah. So
men
no,
to
I'm always
cry, to
promoting
feel.
that an emotional man is very, very strong. You have to be strong. And I love that you were willing to discuss this with me and anyone else who sees this. Just the fact that you're a man and this information is coming from you, I think this is going to be super helpful for a lot of people. And I'm like super grateful for your time. Um, if if you could envision like the perfect type of people, what types of positions would they be in that you would want them to reach out to you so you could offer your workshops to healthcare professionals, or to who would those people be that you would really like to speak to?
It could be, a faculty member in university that wants
Very
to
good.
arrange a course, a seminar, or workshop to their students, social worker students, psychology students, nurses, medicine, doctor, program. It could be for anyone. It could be, inside university. Sometimes there is psychotherapy program that outside of,
Of the
have connection with the university. So people who study psychotherapy, body mind psychotherapy, all sort of psychotherapy, people that, managing rehab and wants to put more light in the obesity and the overweight, patient, and, make room also for patient like that.
sure.
And, just, private, people that wants to, to arrange and help me, maybe like yourself,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
workshops, seminar from, you are in Minnesota, so, stuff that we can do in Minnesota and stuff that we can do all around your country.
Absolutely. No, and I sincerely appreciate that. And I hope that you get, a lot of people reaching out to you, because I know you already have great content and workshops and seminars already created. And I've looked through so many books and so many different things. And when you sent me your stuff, I kind of was just expecting, seeing a lot of the same things that I was used to, but my mind was seriously blown. I am so grateful for the work that you have done and the work that you continue to do. And I am excited for your information to get out there. So, best way for people to contact you is?
Yeah, they can through my LinkedIn. If you can put, my link to my LinkedIn page, and my email. You want me to say my email?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
All right. So it's Roni Maislish. It's RONIM like mother, MAISLISH, Roni Maislish @hotmail.com.
Perfect, perfect. And then if anyone also reaches out to me asking me who was that awesome guy that you interviewed, they can contact me too. So yeah, looking
I
forward.
really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
even
very
taking
much.
the time. I know I chatted your ear off last time we talked, and I wanted to be very respectful of your time this time because we could go on forever when we're talking. So I appreciate it. So,
All right.
all right.
See you next time.
Yep. See you later.